let's be real for a second. You're amazing at what you do. You became a coach because you believe that with your skill set, when you are in a coaching session, when you can deeply listen, when you can create space for someone to self-reflect, when you can ask the right question, the bold question, the courageous question no one else has asked your client, when you can be present and deeply listen, not just on a shallow level, but on a deep level, you can change people's lives. I believe coaches can change the world with the right support, resources, and strategy. You can shift perspectives and change the trajectory of people's futures. That they show up to a session with you one way. You do your magic. You bring your brilliance to the table. And they leave that session completely different. If that's the case, and you believe that, then why is it so hard to market your work? Why is it so difficult to promote your brilliance in such a way that people say, heck yes, I need what you have to offer? On top of that, why are you the bottleneck? Why am I the bottleneck? Why am I the person who has to create the content, publish the content, engage with the content, send the emails, go live? Like, you have to do all the things. And how do I get myself away from being the bottleneck? And how do I scale without burning out, without being overwhelmed, without my business robbing me from the freedom I thought it would provide? It doesn't take just pretty posts, clever hooks. It's not about just showing up. It's about building trust at scale. It's about attracting financially capable clients who not only want what you have to offer, but are ready, able, and willing to pay for what you have to offer. And are ready, able, and willing before they even hop on a sales call with you. And if you're here right now, I know something about you. Number one, you believe in the power of coaching. Number two, you no longer want to be the best kept secret. And number three, you're ready to stop guessing your way in the market. And if you want a marketing campaign and strategy and plan and tactics that actually works for real coaches who are trying to build their business this year, then you're in the right place. If you don't know me, my name is Sean Q. I help coaches who are ready to scale past their bottlenecks, whether that's in flow, lead flow, messaging, or mindset, so they can build a coaching business that's structured for impact and income. I'm the co-founder of Abundance Worldwide and CEO. And with my team, we've helped coaches go from overwhelmed solo coaches to clear, confident business owners with scalable offers, simple marketing systems, and the freedom to grow. The way I've kind of packaged today's video is to speak to and give you everything you need if you're just getting started, if you're in the 6-figure range, or if you're in the 7-figure range. I'm going to help you clarify your message, attract the right clients, and build a marketing engine that doesn't necessarily just require you. I'm going to be answering every single question you have around marketing. So if you are watching this on the replay and you still have a question that you want answered that I don't cover in this video, go ahead and use #ask and then ask your question in the chat. I'm going to be active in the chat afterwards to make sure that you get your questions answered. I want to support you. Listen, again, I believe coaches can change the world. They can shift perspectives. They can change lives. And I want to help you do just that. I want to take the business part of running a coaching business and make it really simple and easy for you. You already got the coaching down. Now let's build the business around it. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. If you can see my screen, let me know. But I actually got my iPad here. And this is the framework by which we at Abundance Worldwide support our clients. Number one, we help you build a mindset that is focused on not just building a coaching practice where you're the solo coach, but really building that coaching business where you move from being a coach to truly being a CEO, where you're not just the person generating the leads, converting the leads, and delivering coaching services, but you're really the architect of the blueprint that supports the business. You move from being the coach to truly being the business owner. The other thing we help you do is generate a brand that can outlive you. Listen, when I had my little girl, her name's Nyla, and she's 2.5. So 2.5 years ago, I remember holding her, and I was on paternity leave, and that was scheduled for about 3 months, but it really lasted only 2 weeks. And here's why. I realized that by removing myself from my business, for some of the most important moments of my life, having my little girl, my business started to falter. Nobody could generate leads like I could. Nobody could hop on sales calls like I could. Nobody could coach like I could. And I realized I had built my business off of my personal brand exclusively, that everything depended on me showing up. And I was wearing these golden handcuffs where I had built a successful 7-figure coaching practice, but I was necessary in order for it to be sustainable. I needed to show up in order for it to continue growing. And if I stopped showing up, what happens is the business started to decline. People weren't buying. And I quickly realized people weren't really buying coaching, the methodology. People were buying me. I was the business and the business was me. And so I had these golden handcuffs that I quickly realized, oh, wow, not only am I not able to be successful unless I continue to show up, I don't actually have a business. I just have a really high-paying job. Sure, one I've built, but one that was robbing me from the ability to have the lifestyle I wanted. And so I was doing what I loved, but I started to resent it. I started to hope my coaching clients didn't show up to their calls because that would mean I'd have some extra time to be with my family. I started hoping my sales calls would be no-shows so that I can then go spend time with my family. And I quickly realized I had built a lifestyle around my business rather than building a business around my lifestyle. I'm going to say that again because I think that's so good, and I need you to catch that. I had built my life around my business. My business was the focal point instead of building my business around my lifestyle. And so holding my little girl, I also realized that not only did I wear golden handcuffs, that my business that I thought I had built wasn't even transferable. If I were to pass, I would not be able to have my little girl step into the business and run it when she gets older. That family succession wasn't even possible. So even though deeply rooted within me was a desire to create generational wealth, I was not building a business that allowed for that. Because here's the truth, my business was my personal brand. It was first name, last name coaching. Sean Quintero Coaching. And so the brand I had built was really these golden handcuffs. And what I quickly discovered was that I could totally build first name, last name coaching, but there were a lot of real limitations to that. One of the limitations being I had to keep showing up. And to be honest, I didn't want to. I wanted to have a very easy business to run because I wanted to live my life as a great father, a great husband, and be present with my family. And so one of the things we help our coaches do is build a business brand that's supported by their personal brand, but not dependent on it. Catch that. Having a business brand that's supported by the personal brand, but not dependent on it. The next thing we help people do is build growth engines. So as I was scaling, as I kind of took this step back and discovered, oh, my personal brand, I need to build a business brand. What I quickly discovered was there were 3 things my business needed to be able to do without my direct involvement. 3 things your business needs to do without your direct involvement. Number 1, your business needs to be able to generate leads. It needs to be able to get people who are excited about what you have to offer, who have the resources to pay you, and who are ready to take action now. Number 1, a marketing engine. Number 2, the ability to take those leads and actually convert them into high-paying clients. A sales engine that doesn't necessarily require you being on a discovery call or a sales call, but can convert people through. And the third engine is a fulfillment engine. This is how do you deliver coaching services where you're not necessarily the person coaching the client, where you have coaches working with the client. I mean, imagine being able to wake up one day, having generated leads, converting those leads into paying clients, and getting testimonials from people who are going through the processes you've set up with your coaches without your direct involvement in any of those things. And so, growth engines, if you are building a scalable coaching practice, you absolutely need those three engines in place. And then what happens is you become business owner and you start to have these things in place. You build the systems, you build the team, you start scaling, you're seeing real revenue coming in, and the hat you wear begins to shift. You start having to put out fires, manage people, hire and fire, build SOPs and processes that you want your team to follow. And there's all the operations of the day-to-day. Not only that, you also have to wear the hat of, I got to think, what is this business going to look like a year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years from now? And so you got to be the visionary and you got to be that kind of managing operator. Well, we've actually put together, one of the things we help our coaches do is build into their business a operating system. We call this the coach's operating system that allows you to kind of exit the weeds of the day-to-day so you can do what you love. Now, for me, I still love coaching. Here's the cool thing is coaching is a voluntary position for me in my coaching business. And so if for you, you love coaching, we want to get you out of the weeds of the strategic decision making, the thinking, so you can do what you love. Maybe for you, that's still coaching. After that, we want to talk about assets. Something we help our coaches do is build assets that they can leverage again and again and again. Things that generate revenue without their direct involvement. Oftentimes, this is intellectual property. So here's the really cool thing. As a coach, you have a unique way of supporting your clients. You have an incredible brilliance. And when you can take that brilliance and turn it into a repeatable system, that is intellectual property, and that is an asset you can leverage again and again and again. Most of the time, that's through maybe a certification program where you're now training coaches on how to create impact the way you do. We talk about having data that you can leverage, so maybe an email list that you can leverage again and again and again. Some of our clients, they have email lists, and they know every single time they send an email to their list, they make money. It's now an asset they can leverage. And finally, the next thing that we support our clients with is the financials. So financials is one of the biggest challenges when it comes to business building, because most of the time coaches are very heart-centered, and you kind of want to leave the bookkeeping and the financial reporting and looking at like profit, loss, expenses, all the money things, all the numbers things. You typically want to just give that to someone and say, just make sure I don't owe a lot of taxes. And that's where I was at least. And yeah, what you measure, you can manage. What you measure will naturally by default grow. And it's actually been scientifically studied. As soon as you start to measure something, no matter what it is, weight loss, finances, connection, no matter what, as soon as you start measuring it, there is a natural uptick in its growth. And so what we do is we help you do two things. Number one, past behavior. Let's analyze where your money's going out and how it's coming in so we can identify behaviors and patterns that we want to repeat or stop. Second thing is project. So what does the next year financially look like? What are the major metrics that we have to measure in order to hit those numbers? How many leads do you need to generate in order to get to 7 figures? How many offers do you need to make? How many clients do you need to have? At what level? And so looking at past behavior and then projecting what needs to happen in order for you to actually hit your numbers is all the things that a business owner typically does. This is the Scalable Coaches Framework. These are the 6 things you need in place in order to build a scalable business. Today, we're going to be focusing on one of the growth engines, which is marketing. And I'm going to show you how you can generate those leads, build trust, get attention, and pre-frame people so that they're already ready to buy from you in your marketing tactics. So that's what we're going to focus in on today. If you heard anything in there that you're like, ooh, I kind of want more information, then feel free to hop on a call with one of our team members. Simply say, interested or more information, and we'll make sure to get that information. So oftentimes what happens is you start your coaching practice and you want to market it, but you're not really certain about where you're at in the journey, so you don't really know how to market your business. And so it's really key to understand where you're at in the journey so you can understand what tactics to deploy. I have seen so many people try different things, right? They'll start a podcast, they'll write a book, they'll post on social, they'll start a blog, they'll do a workshop, and it's kind of out of order. Wouldn't it be nice to know what is the order by which I should deploy these tactics? What is the order by which I should do these marketing strategies? So you're not doing them out of place and they actually help you get to the next level. If that's you, let's jump in. So this is the coach's growth model or growth cycle. At the very beginning, I don't know if you could see that word, but it says launchpad. I'll zoom in right here. And this is the very beginning of your business, right? You discovered coaching. Coaching has changed your life, whether you had a coaching experience and you're like, oh my gosh, I want to do that for the rest of my life. Or maybe you were in corporate and you discovered, hey, I have a knack for this, like mentoring, advising, coaching skill set. Maybe I can turn that into a business. Or maybe for you, you were already in like a healing or helpful career. Maybe you were a therapist, a counselor, a teacher, and you decided you wanted to kind of leverage that skill set. Wherever you're coming in from, and I'm curious, let me know, how did you discover coaching? How did you discover that you knew you wanted to be a coach? Let me know in the chat. I discovered coaching because I was at a conference and I was watching this person speak about coaching, but then they did something really unique. They said, I can explain this all day long, but instead, I want to show you the magic of coaching. And so what happened was they asked for a volunteer from the audience. Somebody got picked, went on stage, and the coach started coaching. And a couple of minutes later, what happened was the volunteer was in tears. And all the coach did was ask a couple of questions, created insight, created a space for transformation to take place and breakthrough to happen. I now know the skill sets that they brought to the table were priming the volunteer, asking powerful questions, being present. They did a little bit of like NLP. And so I know now they brought skill set to the table, but at the time it looked like kind of magic. The volunteer came on stage and within seconds or minutes, they were in tears experiencing a breakthrough. And that's when I discovered, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to go around and coach people. And what happened was, as I left that conference, I was kind of put in a position where I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. I had a job paying me like super minimum wage, like nothing, crumbs. But it was a full-time job, but I really wanted to coach. And so I decided I'm going to coach everyone no matter what. I have this passion. I'm going to go coach people. I coached my brother, my sister, my parents. I coached my co-workers at the time. I coached my friends. I literally coached everyone I could coach. And then somebody asked me a question. And they said, okay, so how much to keep coaching? And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, how much do I need to pay you to keep coaching with you? And I was like, oh, you want to pay me? And that's when I discovered, I could build a business around this skill set. And so I charged for my very first client $10 a month for weekly 2-hour coaching sessions. It was insane. They paid $30, pay in full for 3 months, my first pay in full client, y'all. And then what happened was I went to go get gas and I live in California and $30 was like barely half a tank. So I was like, okay, I got to figure this thing out. But that was really the launch pad for me. That is when I discovered, I want to build a coaching business. If I could get paid doing what I love for the rest of my life, that would be amazing. And then once we kind of launch, we start experiencing kind of this early success phase. And this early success phase is where you really figure out your niche. This is where you really want to figure out who you want to work with, how you want to work with them, what you're going to deliver, what you're going to offer. And these are some of the foundational pillars of building your coaching business. This is where you get, kind of a handful of clients. They're paying you money, like real money. And you're like, okay, I'm really perfecting and crafting what I bring to the table. You are typically at this point figuring out what messages work, themes that come up in your coaching sessions. I remember I coached probably 100 people in that first year that I started my coaching business. And I discovered, there's some really clear themes that come up again and again and again as I coach people. Issues of imposter syndrome, issues of fear, issues of shame and guilt, issues of a lack of clarity, of like fog. And so I discovered these themes that I could really leverage in my marketing and like really lean into. And so once I really figured out the foundational things, right? What am I going to sell at what price point? Who am I going to sell it to? What am I going to deliver? That's when I went and entered into the rapid acceleration or rapid expansion phase. And that is typically where you're introducing real marketing strategies and tactics. You are getting a ton of eyeballs on your stuff. This was when I went from like $20,000 launches to $250,000 launches. And it was this rapid acceleration. And then what happens was I went through this experience of growing pains, and typically this is where you might be, is you experience these growing pains of, okay, I actually don't want more clients because I'm overwhelmed. This was the stage where I was hoping my clients wouldn't show up because they were just I remember having coaching calls from 6 in the morning to like 7 at night because I just couldn't fit enough in. And this is where you get to what we call a scale point. You have these issues where more would be a problem for you. You don't want more clients. You don't want more traffic. You don't want to do more launches. And this is where you figure out, instead of doing more, you either do better or you do less. And you begin to diminish. And this is where that roller coaster experience begins to kind of seep through, where you say, okay, I hit a peak. How many of you have been here? Let me know in the chat. Where you hit a peak, whether that's an emotional peak, you feel like, oh, I'm doing so good, this is great. And then you hit something called the valley of despair, where you're like, I don't know, why is it not working? Why are people not buying my stuff? Why are things not happening for me? And then you get back to going through the process of this roller coaster, right? You're up and down and up and down. Maybe you see revenue, really great months, and then you see massive dips in your revenue. Maybe you see really great marketing and then little marketing. Most of the time it's because you're trying to do more and less, more and less, more and less, rather than going from more to better. And this is typically where you build systems, automations, delegation, right? You give it to someone who does it better than you so you don't have to do it. This is where you put together new systems, processes, automations, and delegation so that you have a new floor called your ascension floor. This is now what used to be my ceiling or my peak is now the minimum that I do in my business. I once heard a quote from someone that said, I now walk over the rocks I used to stumble upon. The rocks I used to stumble against, or the rocks that used to cause me to stumble, I now freely walk over. And that's what this ascension floor feels like. It's like, oh, that used to be really hard for me, but now I have a system in place. Now I have delegated this to someone else, so I don't even have to think about it, and they love doing it. Or, oh, wow, now I have this automated, so I don't even have to, it just happens on its own. And now that becomes your floor. What used to be your ceiling becomes your floor. Where are you at in your coaching business? Maybe you're still figuring things out. You are trying to figure out, what do I sell? How do I sell it? What do I offer? Who am I offering it to? Or maybe you're in this place where more is a good thing. You want more. You're trying to figure out, okay, great, I figured all that foundational stuff out. Now I just need more eyeballs. Or maybe you're in the place where more would be overwhelming for you. And you're wearing those golden handcuffs. And instead of more, you want better. But you're at this inflection point where you're like, I'm either going to just go get one-on-one clients again and just destroy my whole business, or I'm going to build a system and figure this out. Let me know, where are you at in the process? If you're at the very beginning, this first part of today's live stream is going to cover what do you do in these early success phases when it comes to marketing. The second part is going to be, what do you do when you're in rapid expansion? And then the third part is, what do you do when you just want better, not more? Before we get tactical, marketing isn't just about promoting yourself. Let me get out there. Let me like make it all about me. Instead, marketing is about generating qualified leads who are ready to buy what you have to offer. Let me say that again. Marketing is about generating qualified leads who are ready to buy what you have to offer. Let me break that down for you. A good marketing campaign, good social media posts, great emails, anything you do within the marketing space, if it's really good, it does 4 things. Number 1, it grabs attention, right? One of the biggest struggles of every coaching business that I've ever worked with is eyeballs. It's the eyeball problem. How do I get more people to see my stuff? Have you ever been in a situation where you created a social media post? You put so much effort into it. You published it. And you're like refreshing your page, waiting for that notification to ding. And then you keep waiting and you keep waiting. And then if you're anything like me when I was first starting, I would like my own thing just so I could see like, oh, there's a like. And you're like, where are the people? Why is nobody seeing this? Why is nobody engaging with it? Or I remember one point I had a family member who was like, oh, good job, sweetie. So proud of you. And I had to call them and I was like, hey, I'm trying to build a business here. Would you mind changing that? Instead of like, I'm your mijo, I'm your nephew. Like, let's shift that language a little bit. So it's the eyeball problem. Marketing gets attention. You want people to see your stuff. When you post, when you create that email, when you go live, you want the eyeballs and you want people to be able to see your stuff. But you don't just want eyeballs. You also want the second thing, which is trust. If you have attention, but you don't have trust, then people won't trust your ability to solve their problem. I'll give you an example. I could post right now a selfie with my daughter. Those get a lot of engagement. It gets a lot of attention, but that does not do anything to build trust in my ability to solve people's problems. Sure, it might build likability. People may like the fact that I'm present with my daughter. I'm doing my very best to be a good father and a good husband. But it doesn't really build authority or trust in my ability to solve your specific problem. So you can get attention, but you also want to build trust. The third thing your marketing needs to be able to do is get a qualified lead to raise their hand, to say, I'm interested. Now, what does that mean? It means getting people who are ready to take action, excited about the work that you do and believe in it. You're not having to convince them this is going to help you. They already believe in it. They naturally want what you have to offer. And they have the resources to pay you. They are ready, able, and willing to pay you. If I got attention and built trust with people that could not afford me or were not ready to take action, it would create a ton of frustration. Let me know if that's if you've been there. Let me know if you've been there, where you've gotten the attention, you're getting a lot of this engagement, People trust you. You're talking about your offers, you're building authority, but nobody's actually paying you or raising their hand or saying, yes, I want what you have to offer and I have the resources to do it. If you've been there, you've probably experienced a lot of frustration because you're getting the attention from unqualified people. People not ready to take action, not ready, able, and willing to pay you money for what you have to offer for your coaching services. Now, if you got attention from the right people and they trusted your ability to solve their problem and they were ready, able, and willing to pay you money for it, the fourth thing that your marketing campaign needs to do, or anything you do in marketing, is pre-frame. Now, this means making the sale the obvious, natural next step. I'm going to catch that. I'm going to say that again. I want you to catch it. Pre-framing is all about making the sale, the purchase, buying your coaching program, the natural, obvious next step. If you got attention from people who trusted that you had everything and were capable of creating a solution for them, from people who were ready, able, and willing to pay you, and saw your program as the natural next step, you would have a marketing campaign that makes you money. I want you to ask yourself, do I have attention, right? What is the challenge that you're facing right now? Is it an attention or eyeball issue? Is it a trust issue? Are you not building authority with the people who are engaging so they don't believe you have the ability to solve their problem? Is it that you have attention, you have trust, but you don't have qualified leads? Or is it that your offer doesn't really make sense? I'll give you an example. If I got the attention, trust from a qualified lead, but then I was selling them something that I've never even talked about, it wouldn't make sense for them. That was the obvious, natural next step. If you're selling something, but all your content is talking about something different, you want to make sure you're bridging that gap, that the offer you have matches the marketing and the message that your lead is receiving. Catch that. That's huge. If there is an offer gap, then your pre-framing isn't going to work and they will not buy from you. Even though they're ready, able, and willing to, even though they trust you, and even though you've gotten their attention. I'm going to show you how to do all 4 of these things. Now, before we get into the strategy of how to do these things, we have to understand and identify the issues that are going to naturally come up anytime you begin to promote, you begin to market. The first issue is, all of these issues are typically internal. How many of you know the best critic in your life is you? The worst critic in your life is you. The person who's going to stop you from success is you. The person who's going to keep you back from making that social post, from doing that thing, is you. Success is found in this 3 pounds of flesh and brain in your body. How many of you know that until you solve this issue, doesn't matter what you do out there, because you continue to come back again and again. So let's solve this issue. There are 4 areas that I typically find with coaches who are excited about marketing themselves and their coaching business, but feel some level of resistance. And the first is an identity issue. You'll have to excuse my handwriting. This is the fear of, like, if I put myself out there, I'm going to be judged. I'm going to be rejected. I'm going to be misunderstood, right? There's a fear of posting an opinion or feeling too salesy or going live and presenting yourself, flaws and all. And so what happens is you begin to overanalyze your stuff, or you try to perfect it, right? You over edit it. You put all this effort into it, and it's really slowing you down. Or maybe for you, there's this identity of, like, pride. If I promote myself, it feels like I'm being egotistical, or it's all about me. And this is especially true for healing type of coaches, people who do maybe energy work, spiritual work, therapists, any type of people oriented or healing oriented, health and wellness type of work. You don't want to feel like you're leading with your ego. So what happens here is you avoid self-promotion and you become the best kept secret, right? You only share client wins, never your own authority in the space, and you can get attention, but you don't really build trust, right? A lot of times this is masked as, I just want the work to speak for itself. Let me know if you've said that before. I don't want to promote. I just want my work to speak for itself. The second area that I've typically seen is around wealth, right? We have this idea around money, about making money, about our worth. I'm not far enough along to charge that much or to speak boldly about this thing. If I promote myself too much, I'll look greedy, out of integrity. This might sound like I don't want to pressure people, or I just want to make sure I'm delivering real value first. And those are not bad things. Like, I don't want you to pressure anyone either, or I want you to deliver value too. What happens though is we subconsciously make this connection. If I promote myself, I will make money. I will land clients. And I don't want to make too much money. I just want to live comfortably. I just want to have enough. And so this money mindset challenges come into place. And because at the back end of marketing means we're making more money, we don't do the first step of actually doing the promotion, of actually doing the marketing. And so there's a lot of wealth dynamics. Let me just speak to this real quick. If you're listening to this, you have every right to ethically make money. You have every right to provide a service to the market and that be a transaction where somebody gives you money in exchange for that value. You are worthy of making money. And it's okay to ethically make a profit. Now, if you are pressuring people and manipulating people and being super salesy, then look, you're just setting yourself up for failure. But if you genuinely are changing lives, you have a great offer, you're a great coach, and when you coach, there is magic and brilliance that shines. You deserve to be able to not only pay your bills, but to take your family out, have vacations, have time off where you're not thinking about anything, you're just present and enjoying the great pleasures of life. You deserve a lifestyle that brings out the very best in you. I'm going to say that again. You deserve a lifestyle that brings out the very best of you. And so do your clients. Your clients deserve the very best of you. And the very best of you is one of abundance and wealth. The third issue that I typically see is an issue of comparison. So this has to do with other people. Oh, look how they're showing up online. Look how they're posting. Look at how they're publishing content. Look how they're writing emails. And so we start to either copy each other, or you don't really have a conviction on what you're doing. And you've seen others and you're trying to cut through the noise, but then you become part of the noise. Let me know if that's been you. Or even like, I don't want to be like those other coaches. So you're still comparing yourself because you're trying to be the opposite, complete opposite of those people who are doing things the way that doesn't really feel good with you. Here's the truth. Comparison is a thief of joy. It's ancient wisdom. Comparison is a thief of joy. And if there's anything I know about building a successful business, I learned this from one of my coaches, previous coaches. Her name's Molly. The more fun I have, the more money I make, the more impact I make, the more joy I experience, the greater I can show up for my clients. And so instead of comparison, what I typically tell people is celebrate. Celebrate the fact that they're showing up in such a way that you can look at it and say, maybe I want to try that. Maybe I don't want to try that. Naturally, we're going to compare ourselves. It is how we relate to other people in the world. It's how we identify if we're on the right track or not. It is a subconscious drive, a psychologically innate trait of us to compare ourselves. What happens though is when that comparison becomes a thief of joy, and instead of that comparison becoming a celebration. So I encourage you, you see somebody out there who's doing it the way you want to do it, great, celebrate them and then get started. Focus on your marketing. If you see somebody else and you're like, I don't want to do it that way, celebrate them. Hey, they found a way that works for them. I'm going to find a way that works for me. And then finally, it's strategy, right? Strategy is another resistance. I've tried that before. It didn't work. Let me know if you've said that before. Or I don't have like the perfect funnel or system in place. I'm not going to promote. Or I don't even know where I'm leading people. I'm not going to talk to people. Or I don't want to overpost. Or I don't want to go on camera. Or I don't want to be on audio. Or I don't want to create graphics. And so you overwhelm yourself with the analysis of the tactics and strategies. And so what happens is you begin to diminish. You don't want to seem pushy. You don't want to, you want to have everything perfected before you start telling people about what you do. Here's the truth. No one cares. No one cares. No one cares. Your qualified leads genuinely just want your help. They just want to see you show up. So if you have a messy back end, that's okay. If you are on social and you're on video and it's a little awkward and messy and like you're kind of like just being real and raw, let me tell you something. That is a competitive advantage in the world of perfect AI content. Catch that. Being your human self, being your strange, awkward, this is all me self is a competitive advantage in a world where AI perfects everything. Here's your permission to be you. The more you are, the more money you'll make. The more you are, the more fun you'll have. The more you are, the more likely you are to attract people who like it. Who say, ooh, that's the Shirley, or that's the Virginia, or that's the Sean I want to be around. Be more you. So, can we all make a decision right now that, listen, I can lead with value, and I am a coach that can change lives, and I deserve not to be the best kept secret. I also deserve to live a life that brings out the best of me, to build a lifestyle where money isn't an issue for me, where I can celebrate others' differences and focus wholly on myself, and I can leverage a strategy that aligns with me, my human uniqueness. If you're ready for marketing strategies that help you do that, and you're committed to doing that, let me know in the comments below. When it comes to a coaching business, there are really only 6 ways to market your business, 6 categories of marketing. I'll cover them right here. The first is strategic partnerships. If you're taking notes, write that down. Strategic partnerships. This is where you are connected with another entity or another person who sends you leads as part of their model. For example, if let's say you are a coach and you help with branding, right? You take businesses, you coach them around their brand, how to be aligned with their brand, how to figure out their brand, and you're a branding coach. A strategic relationship you could build is one with a web developer. Anytime the web developer sells one of their packages, it includes work with you as a brand coach. And so you position your offer as part of their offer, so when they get clients, you get clients. Another way to do that is, let's say that web developer, web designer has a lead in front of them, but they only work with companies that have their brand figured out. And so if they're talking to a person who's unqualified for them, they may be qualified to you, so they're going to naturally send all of their clients your way. Or maybe you're working with a company and they help with They help with web development, social content, but they don't help with branding. And so they hire you to work with all of their clients and then pay you per session or pay you per client program, per client who goes through your program. Essentially, these are partners that can 100x, 10 to 100x the work that you do with them, because there's a natural lead flow built into the model. One of the things we recommend for every coach is identify the different supplemental topics, the things you don't cover but somebody else does, and go build relationships with them. Let them know, hey, I will naturally send you all the leads I have because they may need support from you if you send the leads you have my way. And now there's a collaborative economic growth taking place. Make a list of 10 topics, then go on the hunt and find people that you align with when it comes to the quality of their work, the value they put out, how they process clients, the results they get. And if it makes sense, make them a strategic partner of yours. So strategic partnerships. Number 2 is paid advertising. You can literally pay money right now to a social platform as an example, or a search platform as an example, or even if we go legacy model, you could pay to put a commercial on your local television. You can pay to put a billboard up. You could pay money to put your stuff in front of other people, right? You simply pay to get the eyeballs. Oftentimes, paid becomes really scientific, especially when it comes to like paid advertising on this platform that you're watching, because then you can say, okay, it costs me $7 to get a lead, and I know I'm going to sell them $100 thing, so there's profit built in. Or it costs me $200 to get a lead, but I'm selling them a $15,000 program, so there's profit built in. I'm going to convert 1 out of every 10. If it costs me 200, then to get, if it costs me 200 to get 1, it's going to cost me 2,000 to get 10. But I know I'm going to be able to sell at least 1 or 2 of those leads into my $15,000 program. So, scientifically, if you just look at the numbers, it makes sense. This becomes kind of a scientific approach to getting leads. Typically, what happens when it comes to paid advertising is we believe this is an accelerant. So you can literally just put money down right now, get in front of people. Put $5 down, get in front of people. This is typically an accelerant, and we definitely recommend systems in place, which we can talk about later today, so that this paid advertising begins to balance itself out. For example, the way we teach our clients to do paid advertising is by moving people from an ad to a paid offer. Typically super low ticket, think $3, $5, $9. Because if it costs me $5 to get a lead to purchase a $3 thing, then I'm making $3 back on my $5 that I'm spending. If I can make $5 off of a $5 lead, then it kind of balances it out, and I'm not really spending any money because I'm making it back. If I can get $10 for every $5 I put in, now I'm making money on my advertising and I'm getting the lead. And so this can become really scientific, and we want to make sure that there are systems in place like that. We show our clients how to do that. If that's something you're interested in building, kind of a system to get that little yes, that low ticket offer, so that you can get easier, bigger yeses for your higher ticket offers, let me know in the chat. We can hop on a call and we can walk through how we support our clients with that. But paid advertising becomes a scientific approach to generating leads. The next category of marketing is earned media. This is typically getting featured on some type of platform because you've earned the right to be there. For example, if you are featured in Forbes magazine or the Times newspaper, or you're featured on a podcast, you've earned the right to be featured on that platform. And so earned media is a lot of like PR, right? You're building a relationship with the public of other people's audiences, but you've put in the effort to get that. Now, there are some ways where you can actually pay to get featured on Forbes. I think Forbes may have started limiting that But earned media builds a lot of authority. If you're featured in, the New York Times as an example, or on some type of news channel, typically they're inviting you on that platform, or you get on a podcast, right? They're inviting you on that platform to be a guest, to share your value and your insight. And so you're leveraging what we call OPAs. OPA stands for other people's audiences. OPAs are where you're leveraging an audience that someone else has already built. And because you've earned the right to be there, they invite you onto those platforms. Then you have owned media. Owned media is your own database, right? Your own email list. You own that data. You own people's email addresses, phone numbers, mailing address, and you can leverage that. You can send them an email. You can call them. You can send them something to their physical address. This is something you or your company owns. This could also be podcast subscribers, right? Or a podcast. This could be a website. This could be a blog. These are things you pay for, you own them, you can leverage them when it comes to marketing. Then you have referrals. Now, the difference between a referral and a strategic partnership is a strategic partnership has built-in leads, whereas a referral is typically from a client who goes and, oh, you should work with this one person. So this is, a 10 to 100x. Whereas referrals are typically 1, maybe 2 clients that they're generating for you. This is oftentimes word of mouth. So there's no real system or lead flow built in, but it's word of mouth. This really leverages your reputation. We recommend every single client you have or have ever had you should get in front of them to ask them for a referral. You should get in front of them and say, hey, do you know anyone who would benefit from a conversation with me? Do you know anyone who, maybe they're a good fit for me, maybe they're not, but I just would love to have a conversation with anyone you think that would benefit from getting to know me. This, your reputation precedes you. It's built off of word of mouth, and that's kind of what happens there. And then the final category of marketing is organic. Organic is where you leverage anything that is free, but typically requires sweat equity, right? Essentially what that means is it requires effort. So it's free financially, but requires effort. For example, I could post right now on social for free. This video is on social for free. I didn't pay for this video to exist, but I'm putting the effort to creating the video, to pressing publish, and to getting it on the platform. You can publish something. You can create a graphic, write copy, write a post, publish it for free. It just requires that effort and sweat equity. Oftentimes, this is where initiative marketing comes in. This is where you're just initiating conversations. You're leveraging your network. You could go through your contact list right now, call each one and say, hey, I'm doing something new. You've always been somebody I could trust. I'd love to get your feedback. Do you know anyone else who I should get feedback from that might be interested in this? It's going to take some effort, but you can do that for free right now, pending you have a phone and you're kind of paying for those things. But traditionally, it's free. So when we're looking at these things, this goes up. When I know somebody, let's go back over here. When I know somebody, and let me just kind of start erasing things here, is in the early success phase. If you're just getting started, I recommend doing these bottom 2 right here, right? This is early success. You're just getting started. You're figuring things out. Leverage your existing network and get as many referrals as possible. One of the ways that I show clients, especially who are just getting started, you're an emerging coach, you just started your coaching business, is do 2 things. Number 1, make a list of everyone you've had a positive interaction with that you have their contact information, right? They believe in you. They're not going to be the negative Nancy's. They're not going to question, or you're not going to have to convince them. They're practically supportive of you. They're a supporter. They're a fan. They like you. They trust you already. Make a list of all the people. go through your friends list, make a list of all those people on social, your followers, your contact list, and then simply call them and let them know, or send them a message, send them a text, contact them, and simply let them know, hey, I'm starting something new. I don't know if it's going to work yet, but I'd love to get your feedback. Would you be open for a 10 to 15 minute interview where I ask you a couple of questions and see if this is something I should pursue? And go interview as many of them as possible. At the end of the interview, when you're done asking them questions about how you help people, right? Let's say you're a health and wellness coach and you're like, hey, so thank you so much for hopping on this interview with me. I have a couple questions. I'm trying to explore if this is worth pursuing. Number one, I'm going to be asking questions around health, wellness. I'm starting kind of a health and wellness coaching business kind of, and I'm going to get your feedback. Is that okay? Great. Tell me a little bit about your health experience or your journey. What do you typically do to have movement? How long has it been since you last had movement? What were some of the challenges you've faced when you've tried to, get fit or lose weight? And you're just interviewing them. You're getting feedback. At the end, you're going to ask for two things. Number one, a referral. You're going to say, great, thank you so much for this interview. I have two last questions. Would you mind? Great. Do you know anyone else I can interview? I really want to get this right, and it would be really helpful if you can give me 1, 2, or even 3 people where you could shoot them a text right now and just say, hey, somebody's interviewing people. I think you'd be a great fit for him. He's trying to start something new, and, think you would be a great fit to be interviewed by him. Awesome. Get those 3 people. Fourth, when I'm ready to launch this thing, would you be interested in hearing more about kind of what I put together? And what you're doing at that stage is you're building a wait list. Based off of all your interviews, you're building a wait list of people who are interested in what you have to offer. Out of 10 people, you're going to get 7 people who say, yeah, tell me what you have to offer. When you're ready, let me know. Great. I'm going to be ready in about 2 weeks. So let's book that call now. And then I'll let you know after all my interviews what I discovered from those interviews. And I'll even give you a ton of feedback and tips on what you can do just for free as a thank you. Great. 2 weeks later, you hop on a call with them and you say, hey, thank you again for that interview. It was so helpful. When you said this, this, and this, that gave me a lot of clarity, gave me language I can use. I now feel really confident that what I can do can help people lose weight, get fit, do, etc. And I'm really excited. I'm looking for my first 5 clients. And for those first 5 clients, I'm doing a pay what you can, or I'm doing a super affordable option, or I'm doing, whatever you feel comfortable with that pricing, especially, again, you're just getting started. So all you need at this stage is clients paying you. I don't care how much it is, because you want to prove that what you have to offer is going to get results. Do you mind if I share a little bit of what that looks like? Great. You have the conversation, you move them into the sale. Now, this isn't a sales video. Maybe I'll do a 4-hour sales video talking about all the things you need to know on converting and having the sales conversation. But this is how you just easily get in front of people, and it's all organic. It's free. It's just sweat equity. Referrals. Referrals are really easy. Put together a list of 4 different categories. 1, your existing clientele. 2, the people who have most recently become a client, right? They've most recently paid you money. 3, the people with the best testimonials. And 4, everyone who's given you money that has stopped giving you money. So maybe they just completed their coaching program. Maybe they have not renewed their coaching program. At some point, maybe they paid for something smaller, but not something higher. Make a list of all those 4 people and then go let them know, hey, I'm offering complimentary 60-minute coaching sessions as a gift from you to someone else who would benefit from it. I'm focusing on helping people do this, this, and this. Do you know anyone that you can gift a complimentary coaching session to? Don't worry, there's no sale on the other end of this. I'm simply looking to give back to my clients and the people in my database. Then genuinely coach people. Anybody they send you, coach them. At the very end, you can say, hey, this was so powerful. Should we explore what it would look like if we continued coaching? and then schedule a separate call for that actual sale. Once you're in the early success stage, you kind of figure that out. Then you get to the rapid expansion phase. When you're in rapid expansion, we start recommending paid, owned, and earned. Owned, because this is your own, and I'll put this in here, expand. Oh. Okay, this is the expansion phase. Owned, because at this point you figured out your stuff, you're building an email list, you probably have a podcast that's launched, you have assets you can leverage at this point. Earned, because you're starting to get a name for yourself, and paid, because you now have revenue you can pour into paying for eyeballs. We'll talk about tactically how to do that in just a second. And when you're in the growing pains, typically you're looking for systems that generate leads for you. And so this is growth or growing pains. And you're looking for, okay, how do I 10 to even 100x my client acquisition without 10 to 100xing my effort? How do I build systems for lead flow? And that's where you get into that growth phase. This is the 6 categories that you can leverage when it comes to marketing your coaching business: organic, referral, owned, earned, paid, and partners. And I'll give another tactic. One of my favorite tactics here is especially during holidays. What I will do is I'll say, hey, I have 10 people that I want to gift a coaching session to, but I only give that gift, and I'll make like a little flyer of it or like a ticket on Canva. I'll give it to the 4 categories of people who are existing clients, people who aren't clients yet, but they've they've paid for small things, people who've given me the best type of testimonials, and then people who have most recently become a client. And I'll give them a ticket, and I'll say, hey, this ticket counts as 1 complimentary coaching session on this topic. Give it to anyone you think would benefit from it as a gift for Christmas or for their birthday. And it's one way to kind of leverage holidays and celebrations and special moments. Now let's get into content. What I'm going to do is walk you through the 5 levels of awareness. This is the journey that leads go through before they're ready to purchase from you. This is the 5 levels of awareness that every coaching lead goes through before they're ready to purchase from you. At the starting point is unaware. They don't know you exist. They don't know you have a program called The Best Clarity 90 Days of Your Life. They don't know you are a coach. They don't even know they have a problem. They are just kind of living life. They're going about their normal day-to-day routine. They're unaware of anything that needs to shift. The vast majority of people are unaware that something needs to change. Most people live a life where they kind of accept the status quo. This is my life. This is how it's supposed to be. I've accepted it, and I might have frustrations around it, but this is what life is. Our job as coaches is to pull them out of zombie land by opening up possibilities where they can then see a future that's different from the one that they'll experience if nothing changes. How do we do this? How do we open up possibilities for people? One of the best tools that you can deploy to open up possibilities is stories. I remember going to a theater when I was a kid and watching a Star Wars movie for the first time in the theater. And I was maybe 9 years old. And as soon as I left the theater, I grabbed the nearest stick I could when I got home and started waving it around like a lightsaber. Making noises, singing the songs in my head, da 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 da, and make believe feeling like I could live that story. I went into the theater not even knowing what a lightsaber was and left the theater after watching the story play out for 90 minutes to 2 hours, going home and fully thinking I was a Jedi with a lightsaber fighting the bad guys. Stories are so innate in us as a species that our brain chemistry actually changes when we're listening to a story. Our brain focuses on the story and it begins to imagine what our experience would be like if we were in that story. I want you to think of your most favorite movie. The reason why that movie resonates with you so deeply is because you could see yourself in that movie in some way, shape, or form. There's some truth from that movie you resonate with, some emotional experience that you can connect to. I remember watching The Lion King growing up. And this movie is about this lion who experiences trauma from early childhood. His father passes away. And then he believes and is told a lie that he's responsible for that death. And so he runs away and he grows up believing a lie until someone comes into his life and reminds him who he was. That he is the one true king of Pride Rock. That Mufasa, the king, was the king. And Simba, as prince, has a rightful, has rights to the throne. And then there's this deep self-reflection scene where the clouds become Mufasa. And Mufasa says to Simba, remember who you are. You are my son and the one true king. And so what happens is Simba builds all this courage and he confronts the person, Scar, who lied to him and battles and essentially rises into victory and claims the throne and restores Pride Rock to the glory it once was. The reason I related to that story so well growing up was because I could experience the loss of a father. I could experience not being connected and feeling shame and guilt. I could experience, even though these animated characters were not real, right? Simba does not actually exist. Mufasa does not actually exist. They're cartoons. The story was so relatable to me. And again, there's such an innate shift that takes place when we're listening to stories. And you see possibilities in front of you. One way to create awareness that life could be different is by telling more stories. These stories could be your stories. These could be your client's stories. These could be fictional stories like The Lion King that speak to a bigger truth of what's possible. I want you to kind of do a self-audit. When's the last time you shared a story? When's the last time you shared your own story of how you created breakthrough and experienced transformation? When's the last time you shared your clients' stories of what was possible? That's why people love before and after photos, because it shows here is what's possible. Doesn't matter what the process is, but the possibility is what opens people up to saying, you know what? I think I want to live life differently. Tell more stories. Number 2. What happens is when they start to think, oh, this is possible for me, life could be a little bit different, they start to hit a roadblock or a problem. Oh, well, I can't lose weight, or I can't do, build sales, or I can't, there are some problems that begin to arise. And problems require one thing for someone to say, oh, you get it. It's not finger wagging. It's not facts. It's empathy. Empathy. It's, oh, I get it. If you've been having a hard time losing weight, if you've been having a hard time getting sales, if you've been having a hard time doing X, Y, and Z, I get it. You're not alone. You're also not the problem. Here's what the real problem is. Empathy content that reveals the true problem is the type of content that makes people say, oh, you get it. You understand. I'd like to potentially explore further working with you. You stand out. I want you to do a self-audit. When's the last time you created a piece of content? Maybe it's an email, maybe it's a social post that simply told people who were experiencing the challenges, I get it. And here's where the real problem is. And it's not your fault. Empathy. That creates revelation on what the true problem is. Once people understand what the true problem is, that's where you want to then introduce the solution. And I'm going to share with you a quote that I learned from Dan Kennedy, who said, if you can describe their pain and their problem better than they can, they will automatically believe in your solution. I'll give you an example. When I first got my glasses, When I first went to get my glasses, I had an eye exam. And they did the test. They did, okay, great. One or two. And then the doctor started sharing, hey, it's fuzzy, right? Like you can't see really that far. Yeah, that makes sense. You're probably also getting a lot of headaches, right? And I was like, oh yeah, I am getting headaches. And then you're also probably like getting people asking you, are you angry or are you mad? And you're like, yeah, why? And it's because you're probably scrunching your eyes just so you could see. It's not that you're angry. It's just you're scrunching your eyes. And then if you rub your eyes right here, you probably feel a sense of relief because there's a lot of tension there, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, like you get it. It's like, okay, here's what's wrong. You need glasses. And I was like, oh, okay. Now, why did I have that reaction? It's because he could acutely describe the problem I was experiencing and then telling me what the solution was. Solution content is letting people know what solutions exist and giving them the options available to fixing the problem. So what the doctor said is you probably need glasses, or you need contact lenses, or you can get laser eye surgery. So solution-oriented content is providing people options, letting them know there's a way to fix the problem, and here are all the options available to you. But also creating clarity on what you recommend as the authority. Clarity around recommendation. So we go from, hey, did you know you're not alone, right? Here's a story to open up possibility. I worked with a client. They were experiencing this. Now they're experiencing this. Or I used to experience this. Now I experience this. To, hey, if you're struggling with X, Y, and Z, or if you're having a hard time doing this, I get it. Here's a real problem. To, here are the 3 solutions that you can use and my recommended thing to do when it comes to solving this problem. Now you're making people aware of all the solutions available to them. So now that they know what options are available, you can then introduce your product. This is where you say, let me tell you about 90 Days to Clarity and what makes this different from everything else. right? You want to differentiate yourself and your program. You want to talk about the process of what is included in the program, right? This is where you talk about, we help you with this, then we help you with this, then we help you with this. And you go through and start talking about the program that you're actually offering. This is where you're creating a lot of clarity so they can make a confident purchasing decision on whether or not that's what they want to buy. That's the solution they want to invest in. And then finally, this is where people are most aware. And typically what people need here is like a nudge of, hey, just a reminder, 90 Days to Clarity closes in 24 hours. Right now is the best time to get involved. Or an incentive. Hey, 24 hours until this bonus goes away. Or if you sign up today, you get this extra thing. And you give them another reason, say, oh, okay, yeah, I want to do that. I'm most aware. I'm ready to buy. And now you're incentivizing or you're nudging my action. I want you to notice how these levels of awareness becomes your marketing campaign. If, for example, you're trying to sell a $97 workshop, which, as an example, we are doing a $97 workshop in a couple of weeks. If you want access to the Scale for Coaches 2-day lab, we're selling it for $97. Just let us know in the comments or click the link in the description. You'll be able to get set up. We're going to fix your offer so it's scalable. Then we're going to show you the exact way to leverage what we're teaching you today to fill it up really fast and accelerate your marketing. So if you're interested in that, let us know. But notice, let's say you're doing an event, you want to fill your program, you want people, you want to market something. This becomes your marketing campaign. On day 1, you talk about unaware content. On day 2, you talk about problem content. On day 3, you talk about solution content. On day 4, you talk about your program. On day 5, you incentivize action. You have an entire week of content, an entire week of emails. And here's the good news. You can cycle through this. So Mondays are your unaware content. Tuesdays are your problem content. Wednesdays are your solution content. Thursdays are your product-based content. And Fridays are your incentive-based content. And then you do it again next Monday. This gives a clear direction for any type of campaign you're doing. If you're doing a summit, you're doing some type of event, you're just trying to fill your program, follow the natural course, the natural journey that leads go through when it comes to going from stranger to buyer. So next I want to share with you something I learned from Digital Marketer and Ryan Deiss. Digital Marketer is the premier online marketing training facility for all kinds of business. If you have an e-com business, if you have a SaaS, if you have a lifestyle business, no matter what your online business is, they're pretty, they've honed in on the marketing strategy around it. And I remember when I first learned about this methodology, it kind of shifted the way I think about marketing campaigns. Because I thought, oh, I just want to get somebody who is, going to buy my stuff, and that's all I want. But the truth is, they're really, and this isn't in here, I'm just going to kind of zoom in right here and write this in. There's 3 types of clients or leads that you have. You have the now buyers, right? People who are ready to buy now. Soon buyers. People who aren't ready to buy right now, but they're going to buy pretty soon. And later buyers. People who, it's not a big deal, they'll buy it later. Only 3 to 5% of people in the market are now buyers for your coaching offer. Which means we need a system to speak to this, 30 to 50% of soon buyers and the 30 to 50% of later buyers. So what kind of system can we set up that nurtures people and gets them ready to be at a place where they're a now buyer. That's where this comes in. It's the customer value journey, and it's how you provide value through each stage of the leads and client's journey. Here, they're complete strangers. They have no idea who you are. And over here, they're wearing capes because they are your superheroes. They're telling everybody and anyone, you have to use this company. They're amazing. You have to hire this person as a coach. It's amazing. So there are 8 different steps along this journey from going from complete stranger to Superman, Superwoman of your business. The first stage is awareness. Now, we already talked about this. There are 6 different ways to market your business, but this is essentially how you get people to discover you exist as a company. I'm just going to put the number 6 here so you know, and I'll make this black, that this is the 6 categories up here. Okay, you can do paid ads, earned media, owned media, organic, referrals, or strategic partnerships. But typically, you don't want just someone to know you exist. You want them to engage in your content. You want them to say, oh, absolutely. They're going to like your content, comment on it, share it, save your content. They're going to, visit your website. They're going to click on the link that you have. You want them to engage. This is where they show interest. Oh, this is what I'm looking for. And this is typically what you're doing to measure like the KPIs of your stuff. Oh, I'm getting the attention, I'm getting the engagement, people are trusting me. But you don't want someone just to engage, you want them to subscribe, right? You hear this a lot on different videos, like and subscribe. They're doing the like, boom, and subscribe, boom. They want to be able to notify you. You want to be able to notify everyone who's interested in your stuff whenever you release new stuff. You want to have access to be able to contact them privately. You want to move them from the public square of social to the private room of their inbox. And so this is typically where you're collecting an email, a phone number, a mailing address, a name. I was writing my name. So a first name, last name. And you're collecting their contact information. Typically, there's an exchange of value, though, here. So for here, with the engage, the exchange is your re-engagement. So if they comment, you respond. Have you ever commented on like a brand and you're like, oh my God, they responded to me? It's exciting. With here, the value you're giving is some type of resource. So some people, opt into my newsletter, get my free mini course, things like that. But where they subscribe to you. Some of the best things that we've seen work with creating subscriptions are case studies, checklists, and I call these actually like printables. Here, let me make this a little bit different. Okay. Oops. So case studies, checklists, what I call printables. So things they can print and put on their desk. So I like scripts. So here's a script to start your next sales call. Here's a script to use when you find a lead. Here's a script to DM someone. Scripts work really well. Like I said, checklists, things they can, if they're doing something over and over and over, let's say they're publishing a podcast, and you are a podcasting coach. Here's a checklist on everything you should do before you press publish. Here's a checklist for everything you should do before you post your next piece of content. Checklists are really juicy because people want to do things the right way. Scripts, like I said, case studies work really well. And then templates. So you're trying to build something. I've already done it for you and making it super easy for you. So here's a template. Those work really well. I don't see newsletters working really well unless it's like a paid newsletter, but then it's not on the subscribe phase. It's on a different phase. But those are the things that I would start to explore of how can I put together these actually useful things people can print and use on a consistent basis. Once they've become a subscriber, as fast as possible do you want them to become a customer? And that's where the convert phase comes into place. And this is typically a low ticket offer, LTO. And you're selling something that's like, so easy for them to buy. Think it's $1, it's $3, it's $5, it's $9. You're not looking to make money here. You're simply asking them to transact as little money as possible so that they become a customer. Here's why. It's called the 10x rule. Somebody who has given you at minimum $1, there has been an exchange of money, is 10 times easier to sell your other things, your higher ticket offers, than somebody who has never given you $1. So we typically have things that we put together like masterclasses, challenges, labs, things that are super low ticket, books even, where you could sell them super cheap simply for that transaction. That's what you're looking for here. All you want is a simple transaction, as easy as possible, so you don't just have a list of people who've given you email addresses. You have a list of people who've given you their credit card number. People who have trusted that you're going to give them and deliver on what you're promising for that $1, $5, $10. Okay. Once they become a customer, they're 10 times more likely to buy your things. Especially if you move them to the excite phase. And the whole purpose here is to surprise and delight. Apple used to do this. I think they might still do this. Anytime you buy one of their products, they would include a sticker of the apple. I don't know if they still do that. I remember buying a mug, and part of the mug included like a little dinosaur toy, which was really cool. I remember having bought something digital, and I got a video back that the guy had said my name in the video. He had my name written out, and he's like, "Hey, Sean, look, you bought this thing. I just want to say thank you. I appreciate every single person who trusts us to do business, and I want to say thank you," right? It was a simple thank you video. But this is one way you surprise and delight them. Why? Because you want them to think, oh, I like doing business with this company. They over-deliver. They make my experience memorable and meaningful. That's the goal, is to become memorable and meaningful in the lives of your customers. I'll give you an example. I was coaching someone recently. Actually, this was about a year ago. And we were exploring a little bit of her resistance towards going public, kind of posting and marketing and promoting themselves. And she said, one of the reasons why I don't like getting in front of people is because growing up, I remember being in, second or third grade, and we had this reading competition, and all the parents came, and each student, one by one, went up to the front of the class and read their, little short story. And everyone was getting applause. The person who went up first told their story, huge round of applause. Second person went up to tell their story, huge round of applause. And then I went up, and I had a hard time reading my story. I couldn't read very well. And I stumbled, and when I was done, nobody clapped. Not even my parents, because I think they were embarrassed. And as she's telling the story, my heart broke. I'm like, oh my gosh. And she said, so I have this fear that every time I go up, I'm going to mess up and I'm going to embarrass people. So we coached around it a little bit. There were tears. There was incredible insight and breakthrough. And at the end of our coaching session, she came to the conclusion that she didn't need anyone to clap for her and that she could clap for herself. That she could be her own audience and be the person who's most proud of herself for showing up. That it was pretty unrealistic. People won't clap at her now that she's an adult. But even if it does, even if she does mess up, she could still clap for herself. And then we discovered a really unique way that she could support her clients. And what she would do from that day forward was anytime someone would sign up for her coaching program, she would buy them a little toy clapper. The one you shake that has a couple of hands and they like clap. With a little note she would write that says, hey, she was a weight loss coach. As you're going through this journey, there are going to be people who won't clap for you. You're going to get on the weight measure and the number is not going to clap at you. But you're going to show up for yourself again and again and again, even when you're not seeing results. And I want you to know that you can clap for yourself and that I will be clapping for you the entire way through. And every single client who received that now records a video of themselves when they hit their milestone, kind of clapping that thing, saying, I did it. I made it. She builds into her program every time you finish a workout. You ring that bell, you clap those hands to applaud yourself. That is one way she made her business meaningful and memorable and surprises and delights her clients. I want you to consider exploring your own story. How could you bring something that used to be painful for you and turn it into gold so that your clients and your leads and your customers are really excited about working with your company and buying from you? Because when you have excited buyers, those are the easiest to ascend to your higher ticket offers. All right, this is your high ticket offer. These are your 6-month programs, your year-long masterminds. These are your 90-day VIPs, whatever it is, whatever your high ticket thing is. This is your, $50,000 program. This is your $10,000 program. This is your $5,000 program. Whatever high ticket means for you, this is where you begin to move excited buyers into high ticket buyers. Then you work really well with them to get them results. And what happens is they become passive advocates. Okay, passive advocates. How do they do that? By giving you a testimonial and a review. A testimonial and a review. Where they're not actively telling people you need to work with this coach, you need to work with this client, but they are passively advocating for you and providing social proof that what you do works, because they'll give you a testimonial review. You could also turn these into case studies. Okay. This is how I worked with so-and-so. This was the process. Now here's where they're at now. And then some of the people are going to know people, and this is where you have a referral program. This is where you build a system for your referral program. And they become promoters and say and tell everyone they know they got to work with your company. The 8-step journey to going from complete stranger to excited, eager brand ambassador, evangelist for your company, where they're telling everybody about the work you do. This is the 8-step process that allows you to define the marketing campaigns you do, because here's the truth. One marketing campaign doesn't take someone, I'll do this in yellow, from here to here. Instead, let's do this in green. A marketing campaign goes from here to here. And then from here to here. These are called micro commitments. You're doing marketing campaigns to move people from one stage to the next. Here's what I mean by that. This month, focus on just building engagement. If that's where your gap is, do a campaign where you're going through all of these things. You're leveraging one or two of these categories to just get more people to engage with your stuff. Or maybe for you, your gap is subscribers. You just don't have an email list you're building or a database you're building. So do all the marketing to simply get people to become subscribers. Or this month, start selling something. Get something really low ticket built. If you need help with that, talk to our team. We help you with both low ticket and high ticket offers and funnels. Right? But sell something low ticket and have all of your marketing campaigns pushing towards that one thing right there. Marketing campaigns go from one step to the next. It doesn't take someone from complete stranger to evangelist overnight. So I want you to ask yourself, where are your gaps? Where is the gap for you in nurturing and building those relationships so that you can work with these soon and later buyers, right? The majority of the market is right here. Rather than your now buyers, right? 3 to 5% are going to go from like learning about you to buying your stuff. But that's only 3 to 5%. The majority of people need to be nurtured to buying from you. So identify where your gap is and then build a marketing campaign 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 2 weeks to develop that step, to bridge that gap. I want to go through a couple of different things that you can do to really leverage some of these like different categories and like give you tactical things. One of the things, so when it comes to telling more stories, one of my favorite ways to tell stories and to really capture attention is through something I learned from a guy named Dr. Ed. And Dr. Ed showed me the 4F method for telling a really good story. The 4F method is feel, fact, focus, and fruit. I know that sounds funny. So feel, always start with emotion. Okay, here's the truth. We are emotional creatures who occasionally think. I don't care how logical you think you are. Your biology, the way your brain is wired, the neurology within your head is built off of emotion first, then logic. If you are in sales, you know this. People buy for emotion and then justify with logic afterwards. If we look at like the biology of our how we communicate, how we experience the world, we gather information through our senses and it all goes to our brain. But did you know that most of the information that gets passed between our brain and our body is from our body first to our brain rather than from our brain to our body? In other words, our body knows more about the world than our brain does. Catch that. Our body experiences the world and passes that information to the brain rather than what we think our cerebral experiences being passed on to our body. So what that means is our body processes information and it gets passed all the way up our spine to the very back of our head called the amygdala. This is the part of the brain that processes fear, processes survival, it processes shame. This is the part that keeps us alive. It is our lizard brain, our reptilian brain. It's 2 million years old, and it is the thing that keeps us safe from threats. Our brain every second analyzes the world 5 times a second to see, am I in danger or not? So our body is literally wired for survival first. Our body is sending all this information to our brain through our survival mechanism first. So we experience emotion first. The very last section it goes to is our cerebral prefrontal cortex. Right here, right at the front center, the part where we call our executive function. The part that takes up and eats up the majority of carbs, so we don't actually have a ton of energy to spend in that section. That's why there's something called decision fatigue. You literally get so tired making decisions or using your prefrontal cortex. So we are emotional creatures first, and then we occasionally think, if we have the bandwidth for it, if we're not in survival mode. If you think about our Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if we are hungry or thirsty or have some type of need at the very bottom, guess where most of our energy goes to? Getting food or water. That's why people can be really grumpy if they're hungry. That's why it's been really interesting. There have been studies that show court cases, if the judge has not eaten in the last 2 to 3 hours, their judgment will be much harsher than if they've eaten within 2 to 3 hours. So our body and our emotional part of our body, the part that understands the world at its basic survival level, makes decisions and is what attention is sent to more than anything else. That's why starting with the feeling or the emotion stops people's attention. If I were to say on social media right now, if I were to post something that simply said, I'm so angry, right? That's the first line. Guess what people are going to ask? What happened? Why? Oh no. If I said something that's maybe a little bit more emotionally charged and not so on the nose of, my mouth dropped and I'm in tears right now, right? I'm not sharing an emotion, but I'm sharing the expression. People are going to wonder, what happened? Why? Good? Bad? What's going on? It's the easiest way to get humans to stop the scroll, is to lead with emotion. So if you're telling a story about a client who got incredible results, start with the feeling. She was in tears in our last session. Or her family couldn't believe why she was crying. Or she was jumping up and down, so excited about what just happened. Right? We're not saying what happened. We're not sharing the actual story. We're starting with emotion first. So start with the feeling first. Then, when people are emotionally involved, get into the actual meat and potatoes. This is the facts of the story. Okay, the facts of the story. This is why you feel that way or you experience that emotion. I was so angry today. Why? Because when I stood in line, I was next to get called at the bank and then they closed. Oh, that's why. Right? Or she was in tears. Why? As soon as she hopped on the scale, she realized she had hit her number. Or as soon as he opened his inbox, he discovered he had made his first sale. Right? Why the emotion? So feel first, then facts. And you can go back and forth, right? After he opened his inbox, there was a sense of relief. Why? Because he knew he would be able to pay his mortgage that year or that month, etc. Right? You can go back and forth and continue the story down. Then near the end, you want to lead with the focus. This is the moral of the story or the lesson of the story. And this is where you're telling people, if you have ever wanted to start a business, it's possible for you. And here's what I want you to take away from this story. Just get started, right? It's the lesson you're taking away. Or, if you've ever struggled with, being healthy, I want you to know it's possible. If she could do it, so could you. Whatever the lesson is. Typically, it's 1, 2, 3 sentences. Then, fruit. Fruit is the action you want them to take. So sometimes this is engage, right? Call to engage, which is, if this resonated with you, let me know below, or share below. Help me celebrate this client below, right? Share a gift below, something like that. Calling them to engage, or calling them to take the next step, right? What is the obvious, natural next step? If you're interested in building your coaching business, let me know below by saying coach, and I'll shoot you a message. Or book a call with me by clicking this link, and I'll get you, and you can book a free call with me. Whatever it is, the action you want people to take. Okay? So feel, fact, focus, fruit. This is kind of a great model for telling these unaware stories that create awareness, but can also move people to the point of getting them to engage, or even getting them to take whatever the next action is, which is subscribe. So feel, fact, focus, fruit. What's going to happen as you're scrolling through social or opening your emails, you're going to start noticing, oh, they're following the model, this method of, getting attention. We just talked about how to get attention. Start with emotion. How do you build trust? Share more case studies. But how do you get someone who's qualified to pay you? How do you actually attract people with money, with a resource to say, yes, I'm ready, able, willing to pay? And how do you become magnetic to those people? One simple principle to understand when it comes to attracting any kind of person is that it's going to come down to one thing: language. When my wife and I went on our honeymoon, we went to Mexico. Unfortunately, growing up, I didn't learn Spanish, even though I'm Mexican descent. So we went to Mexico, went to Playa del Carmen, we went to Tulum. It was so fun, and we enjoyed it so much. And it was a challenge at times because I could not necessarily speak the language that was native to the people there. So I would try, and I would try so hard, and it would just come out as like just butchering the language. And Spanish is such a beautiful, romantic language. And I butchered it, like completely butchered it. And I remember we were on the last day of our honeymoon, and we were sitting at this restaurant. I believe we were eating sushi. And I say that just because I love sushi. If you're a sushi eater, let me know. We're best friends. But then somebody in the corner of our eye, or kind of in the corner of the room, we noticed something. Like our whole face turned towards them because they were speaking English. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're speaking what we understand. They're speaking our language. And so we introduced ourselves. They were also on their honeymoon. It was day one for them, or it was our last day before we flight out. So we're telling them all the things we had fun with. And we built a really strong relationship with them. Why? Because we spoke the same language. When you can speak the language of those with resource, when you can speak the language of abundance, when you can speak the language of wealth, what happens? Perks people's ear up that have resource, that have wealth, that can afford your coaching programs. So how do you use language to magnetically attract the right people, right? The higher qualified people, right up here, right? The clients you want will be attracted to the right language that you use. If you use the wrong language, you're going to attract the wrong clients, right? People who aren't qualified to work with you. But if you use abundance and wealth language, resource language, guess what's going to happen? You're going to attract clients that have resource, that are more qualified to pay you. So What are some things to know, or what words are there to use when it comes to building and attracting the right people? The first thing to recognize is speaking about success. All right? I'm just going to put this in the middle here. If all your content speaks to struggle and challenge, now it has its place, right? If we go back up here, there's its place to speak about a problem. But if you speak about struggle, then people who have resource won't resonate or relate. You can speak about problems, but with success language. For example, I could ask you, do you struggle to be a good dad? Right? If I'm a parent coach, that's something I could say, struggle. Or I could say, are you focused on being the best dad you can be this year? Notice this, there's like an energy shift to that. If I say, are you struggling? I'm going to attract struggle. If I speak to success, the best, if you're looking to have the most deep connection to your kids, I'm speaking to success, to what's possible, to the dream, rather than speaking to the struggle. So if you want to attract people with resource, speak to success and possibilities. I want you to do an audit. Audit yourself. Ask yourself, has all my content been focusing on struggle language? Has it been focusing on language that attracts struggle? Or has it been speaking to possibilities, to success? I call this the front door versus back door strategy. I don't remember who I learned that from. Right? If you were to host a webinar or a workshop, right, you rent this beautiful venue out and you want as many people to attend, and you said, are you struggling because you're a bad dad and you want to be a good dad? Right? People probably wouldn't raise their hand and come rushing through the front door. Even though they might internally feel it or recognize, ooh, I got some improvement to make, they'd be interested in the content, but they would kind of secretly come in the back door hoping nobody would see them in that workshop because they don't want to identify as a bad dad. But if I said, who wants to be the best father for their kids in 2025? Who's already committed to being the best father in 2025? Great, me, I am. I'm going to rush through the front door because I want that. And so you're going to be able to build that social proof. You're going to build that audience, that crowd, because people are going to rush through the front door rather than through the back door. So you want to ask yourself, I was just talking to a coach who works with high-level clients, and he's releasing content that talks all about insecurity. And yes, high-level people, CEOs, executives, experience insecurity. No doubt. Why? Because it's a human experience. But they would never identify with that insecurity. They would also not self-identify with confidence. They have confidence. But they might identify with wanting to accelerate their growth, with pouring rocket fuel on their stuff. And maybe it's the deep internal stuff that is creating the bottleneck. Notice the energy shift of, instead of, I'm going to help you solve your insecurity and your confidence issues, to, I'm going to help you live a life of rocket fuel. Oh, great. I want that. So struggle versus success language. The next distinction when it comes to language for attracting higher ticket clients in your content and in your marketing, it's going to be, I'll make this in pink, scale versus start versus scale. Let me erase that. Start. Oh my God, my handwriting is horrible. Versus scale. And for this one, I'm going to come down here to this kind of line right here. Think of this as a mountain. And people sometimes climb this mountain. Most of the time, people start at the bottom of a mountain, unless they're like getting dropped by helicopter. Most people start at the bottom of the mountain, bottom of their problem, bottom of their goal, and they look up and they say, okay, here's the mountain. The people at the bottom of the mountain who have not yet started climbing the mountain are asking different questions than the people who are at the middle of the mountain, who have already started, who have momentum and traction. The person at the bottom is asking should questions. Should I do this? Should I get started? They're shoulding all over themselves. They're also asking, is this the right thing, right? They need convincing. Is this the right mountain to climb? Is it worth it? Will I succeed? And they're also kind of looking for silver bullets. Okay, where's the escalator on this thing? I just want to get I don't want to put in any effort, put in any work. Where's the silver bullet to this? So that silver bullet, there's no silver bullets in life, right? So they have unrealistic expectations. Okay. I'm going to change this all to yellow because that's going to be or white. It's going to be easier for y'all to see. Okay. The person who's in the middle of the mountain, who's already gotten started, they're trying things, they're testing things, they're asking questions like speed. How do I get there faster? How do I get there easier or more simply? Right? They're looking for things to make it more fun and more enjoyable. How do I relieve pain? Maybe their feet hurt, right? So they have real pain. They're also looking at existing paths, right? Is there somebody who's already done this, who's walked this line, who's climbed this mountain, have laid the path so it's easier for me to just follow their trail? This person is willing to invest in these things to make it real. These people need convincing and persuasion. They have unrealistic expectations, whereas this person already knows what to expect because they're already on the mountain. So what does this mean? Instead of speaking to people who want to start something, speak to people who want to scale or finish something, right? They want to accelerate the path and they want to finish it. Speak to people who've started already and want to finish it versus people who want to start. I'll give you an example. Instead of saying, I work with people who want to write books, right? You're starting to write a book. Start using language of, I work with people who want to finish their book and become a published author, right? Who's looking to finish their book this year rather than write their book this year? The energetic shift, you're going to start attracting people who've already started. Okay, so speak to success, speak to scale or finishing, right? They want to grow what's already working, or they want to finish the journey. They want to speed it up. The next thing to explore is improvement versus transformation. So I'll do this in blue. These are just tips for your copywriting, for the content that you publish. Is, specific improvement. I'll just put improv versus a complete transformation. If you told me, I'm going to help you completely transform your business, I'd say, why? I have things that are working. I don't need complete transformation. I'm going to completely change your life. I'd say, I have a pretty good life. I don't want you to change my life. But if you told me, I'm going to help you close your sales and increase your close rate by 13%, or I'm going to help you generate, 10 times more leads than you're already generating, 100% all about that, right? I have a million things I'd like to improve, but I don't have many things that I'd like to transform. So when you're trying to attract people who are ready, able, and willing to buy, people will invest in an improvement model rather than a complete transformation model. And it kind of goes back to this, right? These people are looking for a complete transformation, whereas these people are looking for an improvement. Let me just make it more easier, more fun, more quickly, right? They're looking for improvement, not complete transformation. And then the final thing that I'd say is most people, and I'll make this in green, don't want their hand held every single step of the way. Instead, what I'd recommend is people who want direction. These are the easiest clients ever to work with. People who are like, hey, just tell me what to do. I'm going to go do it. I'll come back to you with what didn't work, what did work, and then I'll go do it again, do it better, right? These are people who don't need like, okay, I'm going to hold your hand every single step of the way, and I'm going to treat you like a baby, and I'm going to be the savior every time you need something fixed. I'm going to be there. I'm going to rush in, right? You are not a savior, and people don't need their hands held. You are a leader, and people need direction. That's what you can give people. Say, hey, I've been this way. Let me give you direction. You're fully capable. You're fully creative. You're a powerful human being. My job as your coach is not to be your savior. It's to be your leader. It's not to hold your hand every step of the way. It's to give you direction, let you go out, fail, figure it out, come back with your failures. Let me help you fix it. Go fix it. Do it better. Fail again. Come back. I'll give you direction and I'll lead you through the process. So, when I'm writing copy, I'm asking myself, am I speaking to success? Am I speaking to people who want to finish or scale? Am I specific with the amount of improvement I'm going to create in their lives? And am I giving them direction instead of leading with the savior complex? The language, again, you use, if you speak struggle, hopefully we can get you started, complete transformation, I'm going to hold your hand. Look at how much effort is required. It's just, you just know, there's the vibes, right? The energetic, just heaviness is there. But instead, all of that gets relieved when you speak to these things here. Okay? So the language, is what's going to attract the qualified lead up here. Your stories are going to get attention and trust, right? You're going to go through the awareness, 5 levels of awareness here. But to get the qualified lead, you want to use the right language. Now what I want to do, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here, is I'm just going to share a ton of different tactics that you can use in your business and some things to consider when it comes to building and growing your audience of buyers, people who want what you have to offer, and growing your coaching business. A couple of principles just from some experts that I follow. First one I'm going to say from Donald Miller. Things to recognize when it comes to your marketing. The confused mind never buys. Right? If you're trying to be cute with your language, you're trying to like make it really clever, like, oh, that's really clever. It's not going to convert. Clarity converts. Clear over clever. Clear over cute. So when I go to your website, when I go to your social profiles, when I read the bio section of your profiles, when I open up your funnel pages, when I open up your email, it should be very clear who you help, what outcome you deliver, and why you're different. Ask yourself, if I opened up your website right now, would it be very clear who you help, what outcome you deliver, and why you're different before scrolling anywhere else? It's that first headline. If I go to your bio section, is it clear who you help, what outcome you deliver, and why you're different? If not, create a one-line formula. Here, I'm actually going to share my screen again. I will just type it here. Let's see. Yep. Okay. The one-line formula. I help blank get blank without blank. That's it. I help blank. This is who you help. Get blank. This is the outcome. Without blank, this is the differentiator. What makes you different? All right. I help men over 30. That's me. get six-pack abs without ever doing a single crunch. Boom. I help who? Do what? And what makes me different? Confused mind never buys. So if people don't know what you do, they cannot buy the thing you help them do. So confused mind never buys. Number 2, if you try to speak to everyone, you speak to no one. When I'm creating content, writing an email, publishing a blog, when I'm directing my team to create content, I ask them to think about one person. Just one. Not everyone. Think about one person. This piece of content would actually help. Why? Because I know if I can get specific enough to solve that one person's problem, it's going to be powerful enough to solve other people's problems. So ask yourself, before you hit publish, who's the one person that I'm trying to get to like this, to comment on this, to click this? The one real person. Like, think of a real person. And then once you've done that, you've crafted it exactly for them, press that publish button. Number 3, third principle that I want to cover is people don't buy coaching. And this is super clear. I'm going to stop sharing real fast. Nobody buys coaching. Nobody buys the concept of coaching, right? You're going to pay me $10,000 and I'm going to ask you questions and I'm going to empower you. You're going to get clarity and that's going to lead to transformation. Cool, but that doesn't mean anything to anyone. Instead, what people buy is the experience of coaching. They buy the continued experience of coaching. What does that mean? Is if you've been coached before, you know the power of coaching. And when you're in that moment and you create insight and you're like self-reflecting and there's this like, oh, that's why that's happening, right? That like, oh, duh moment where it's like, it all makes sense now. That clarity, that mental insight is what people are buying. It's that experience they're buying. Once they've had an experience of coaching, they're more likely to continue wanting more of that experience. Why? Because naturally people are insight addicts. They love insights. They can get insights all day long. But coaching provides the accountability, the system, the framework, the environment for that insight to turn into new patterns and habits that lead to true transformation. Catch that. Okay, I'm going to repeat that because I think that's just so good. Insights lead to new patterns and habits, which then lead to improvement and transformation. Lead with the insight, not the explanation of the insight. When I first started my coaching practice, I coached as many people as possible to create as many insights as possible. Because I knew if I could create insight, I could ask them, do you want more? Would you like to hear what it would look like if we continued? Is this insight and clarity helpful for you? Great. Let's explore what it would look like if you continued having this type of clarity as you took action. People don't buy coaching. They buy the clarity and insight that leads to new patterns, that leads to transformation. The market doesn't care how good you are if they don't know you exist. Some of you have been hiding behind procrastination, activities that don't actually move the needle, hiding behind making graphics in Canva, or scrolling through social for inspiration. But it's time to no longer be the best kept secret. Because the world needs what you have to offer. They need the brilliance you bring to the table. The magic that happens in your coaching sessions. They can't buy from you if they don't know you exist. So I want you right now to make a commitment to show up, to shine a light on all the problems you solve, and to be the solution people are looking for. Make it known. You can help them. That's what marketing is. It's not promoting yourself. It's educating an audience on what's possible if they work with you. It's not just speaking about yourself. It's about educating an audience on what's possible if they work with you. So don't be the best kept secret. Give yourself a challenge the next 30 days, right? You're going to follow the 5 levels of awareness and create content around that. For the next 30 days, you're going to show up in front of your audience. Make a commitment right now. Let me know in the comments below. Let me know you're committed to no longer being the best kept secret. There's a rule I tell a lot of my clients when it comes to coaching and comes to marketing and promotion. It's the 30-90-day rule. In other words, the marketing you do over the next 30 days, you will reap the benefits of it over the next 90 days. Let me say that again. You will reap the benefits of all the marketing you do in the next 30 days over the next 90 days. So maybe you post a piece of content today and it doesn't lead to a client. Maybe tomorrow doesn't lead to one. Maybe the next day doesn't lead to one. Show up. Keep showing up. Keep planting those seeds. Keep watering and tilling the market. Because there are people who want what you have to offer. But if you don't keep showing up, they're going to see you and then you're going to be a flash in the pan. And then they won't know you have an offer for them. There are 3 questions. If you're like, okay, I need clients now. I need clients. There are 3 questions that I want you to ask yourself every single day. Every day. Number 1, how many offers did I make today? Here's the truth. People can't buy from you unless you make an offer. So how many offers are you making? If you haven't made any offers today, then there's no opportunity for someone to say yes to your offer. Number 2, how many calls did you have today? How many calls? Sometimes you have a call, they're not a right fit, so you don't want to make an offer. Okay, great. But how many conversations did you have today? Why? Because even if someone's not a good fit as a client, being a client isn't the only role someone can play in your business. Somebody can be a supporter. Somebody could be a fan. Somebody could be a referral partner. Somebody could be a strategic partner. There are multiple roles someone can play. So just because a conversation didn't lead to a client doesn't mean you didn't benefit from that call. So number 1, how many offers did you make? Number 2, how many calls or conversations did you have today? And then the 3rd question, how many conversations do you have scheduled for tomorrow? All right, that's your pipeline. How many conversations do you have scheduled for tomorrow? If the answer is 0, get to marketing, get to promoting, get to start conversating with people. One of the things I've told people to do, especially with marketing, pull up your Facebook feed. As soon as you open Facebook, I'm going to open it up on my phone right now. As soon as you open up Facebook, a real person is going to show up on your feed. Message them. Comment on their stuff. Engage with them. They're a real person. They may be a client. They may not be. They might be a referral partner, strategic partner, a fan, somebody who's going to continue to engage with your stuff after the fact. So they'll just be adding to your, algorithm favor. Go talk to real people. If I were just getting started, the number 1 thing I would do is flood my calendar with conversations with real people. All of my content would lead to conversations with people. All of my emails would lead to conversations with people. Every opportunity you'll ever have is on the other side of a conversation. So go have more conversations. When somebody comes to me and they're like, hey, Sean, I haven't landed any clients this week or this month. What do I do? I'll ask them, well, what have you done to promote it, to market your programs? And I'll say, well, I posted on Facebook once. Okay, cool. That's awesome. Go post on Facebook frequently. Show up. But how many conversations have you had? Well, 0, 1. No wonder nobody's bought from you. Nobody's in conversation with you. Show me somebody that has had 50 conversations over the last 50 days, and I'll show you someone who's landed clients. Now, yes, you can sell in the DMs. Yes, you can sell from your social posts. Yes, you can sell without ever having to hop on a sales conversation. And maybe I'll do a 4-hour sales system stream to talk all about all the things you could do to sell. But when it comes to getting leads, the fastest way to speak to someone who's interested in coaching is to just talk to them. Offer a conversation. Offer a free coaching call. Spend time with people. I'd much rather you be in a conversation than not be in a conversation. Twiddling your thumbs, thinking about what should I do. I'd much rather you be sending messages to people, interacting with real people than not. You started this business to change lives. I bet you're passionate about the work you're doing. I know you have brilliance. You wouldn't be doing this if you did not have passion for what you're doing. It's time to take that passion now that's all stored up in here and release it and share it with the world. Something else I ask a lot of people when they're starting their coaching businesses, or like even when they're not, is how often have you told your story? Your own story of getting transformation. Go tell your own story today. Let people know, hey, I used to live this way. Now I live this way, and this is why. And now I'm on a mission to help other people live this way too. It's a clear formula for getting engagement. Share your personal story. Now, for those of you who are really successful already with your marketing, you're probably looking for a couple of different things. And this next section is for you. You're looking at your marketing campaigns. Clearly, you figured out your messaging. You've already figured out what works. And you're really looking for growth and scale. You're like, okay, this works. I want more. Here's what I want you to do. Let's go ahead and dive in. I'm going to share my screen again. And here are the likely problems that you might be facing at this stage. Number one, it's what I call the messaging plateau. This is where you kind of hit that ceiling. I don't know if I wrote plateau right. Whatever. Correct me in the comments. But this is essentially where you feel like you've said the same thing over and over and over and over. You kind of get bored with your messaging. You're like, I got to say this story again. I got to do this launch again. You kind of hit this energetic plateau, but then you also hit this messaging plateau where you're like, okay, I have an email list and they've heard this story 10 million times, or they've seen this hook 50 million times. I'm kind of saying the same thing over and over. A couple things I want you to know. Number one, you're going to get bored 100 times faster than the market will. If you have found a message that works, lean into it. Lean harder into it. Don't try to change it. Don't try to do something new. Make it better. Craft it. Improve it. Use AI to come up with variations of that message. But share that message. You will get bored 100 times faster than the market will. I've had people who have followed me for years. Maybe that's you. If you've been following me for years and you're watching this, let me know. And you've heard some of my stories again and again and again. And I can't tell you how many times people have told me, Sean, I heard that story of how you grew up and kind of pulled yourself out of poverty. And it wasn't just you, but you really honor the community that helped you and the resources that supported you. And that was really powerful. Thank you for sharing it again. And it's the 4th time they've heard it. And they're like inspired by it. Share it. Sometimes people need to hear it again and again and again and again and again before it really clicks to them. A funny story about this is I remember going to a conference, hearing someone say something, and it was like, I don't even remember what it was, but I remember it was so insightful. I came home from the conference and I told my wife, I was like, babe, listen, this session was so good. He said to do this, this, and this. And she said, babe, Sean, my love, I've been telling you to do that for the last 3 years. And it's not that I wasn't listening to her, right? Like, we have pretty good conversations. It was simply that the messenger I needed to hear it from said it in a way, at a time, and in a context that I could really grasp it. Sometimes you need to share your story 4 or 5 times before someone is at the right time in their life, in the right context of their life, to hear it again. If you have content that's converted really good in the past, use it again. Because there are new people, or there's people who've heard it before, but they need it now. So if you've hit this messaging plateau where you kind of just feel bored with it, lean harder into it. Something you can do, a couple of tips and tactics, is ask AI, share your message that's working really well and ask for variations. I'll say, hey, AI, ChatGPT, whatever. I use a platform called Magi. It gives me all the paid AIs out there. Perplexity, Claude, ChatGPT gives me all of them for like $20 a month. If that's something you're interested in, let me know. I'll give you the affiliate link to it. But ask AI to give you variations of it. Or number 2, refresh it with market research. Go ask existing clients, how did I help you? What were you looking for support with when you found me? And sometimes you get insights of like, oh, I didn't realize that's what you were looking for help with. And pay attention to specific language. So I'll give you an example. I was working with a coach who is a book coach. So they help people with their books, publish it, etc. And his language, his messaging that worked really well for him was, I'll help you write and publish your book. Very clear what he's helping you do. Write it and publish it. I asked him to interview 10 of his people and document word for word what they said. And he had this incredible discovery. None of them said he helped me write and publish my book. Almost all of them said he helped me finish my book and become a published author. Notice the difference in language. It's practically the same thing, but it's not. Right? It's same, but not. One is an identity shift, an identity-based market message, which is becoming a published author, versus a activity-based message. Publish your book. Publishing your book and becoming a published author, very different messages. One speaks to identity and one speaks to activity. So we began to shift his message to what his clients were saying. Become a published author. And guess what? He got more qualified leads. He started to see an uptick on the type of people coming into his funnels, the type of people who are opening his emails, the type of people engaging with his social. And so one way to refresh your messaging plateau is simply to, ask AI to give you variations. That's a quick way. Or just do a refresher with your market research. Ask your existing clients, what'd I help you do? Okay. Second thing that you're probably feeling if you have something that's really successful working already is number 2, what I call founder dependency. That's ugly. Founder dependency. What this is typically when you're just getting started, it requires some sweat equity. You got to pour in that effort. I don't like the word hustle, but sometimes it requires some effort. Sometimes you got to hustle a little bit. Make something happen. There's a point, though, where hustle is not the solution. Just because you don't have enough time. You don't have the energy anymore. You don't have the capacity. And now you've hit the ceiling, what we call the hustle ceiling. And you could work to a point, but then that's your ceiling. Can't break past it. And so if all your lead flow is founder dependent, right? It depends on your personal hustle. What you need now is a marketing engine. A way to generate leads that don't require your personal effort. This is where we recommend, if we scroll back up, leveraging paid ads and partnerships. Right? Strategic partners will send you leads. You don't have to work for it. Paid ads, you create creatives, you have copy, but then you just pay money and you get in front of people. So it's not a lot of effort. It just requires resource. But at this point, you have enough resource to be able to pour into an engine like paid lead flow. This is typically building a funnel. So if we go down the funnel, right, you're paying money, right? You have this marketing engine giving you eyeballs on a lower ticket offer. We talked about this already. So let's just say I'm going to say $1 offer. And then some of those people are going to buy your $17 upsell. Some of those are going to buy your $34 upsell. Some of those are going to buy your $97 thing. Some of those people are going to buy your $3,500 thing, right? Now you're funneling people down to your higher ticket stuff. They're ascending to your higher ticket stuff. This is where systems start to make sense. Where funnels like this begin to make sense because you have the resource to pour into it, to test it, to figure out what works, what doesn't. You have the expertise to pour into what the offers and the upsells are. But if, I recommend this once you have, you've figured out your flow, and you're ready for systems. You've kind of outworked your personal hustle. You've outused that. And you're looking, instead of hustle, you're looking to create leverage. And I think that's super key in recognizing. It goes from, I'll zoom in here, from hustle to leverage. Okay. So if you find that your lead flow is founder dependent, you're experiencing founder dependency, it's time to build new systems. That specifically means finding new ways to generate leads, finding new ways and funnels to convert those leads, all without your personal hustle, so you can leverage those systems. Again, we do that. We have a program called the Scale to Exit Accelerator where we help you build these systems and engines so you are no longer that. You don't have a founder-dependent business, but you have a system-dependent business, and you can simply work and leverage the system. If you're interested in that, let us know. Just put Scale to Exit below. Okay. Third problem is complexity. And this is like natural complexity from growth. So anytime something grows, like let's think about the biology of anything, the more complex it gets. You start off as a human being really, really, really small without organs, without a lot of things built in, and you start to grow, bigger, and then you start getting arms and legs, and you start developing a more complex biology system, and then you become like you are birthed into the world, and then you start developing new skill sets that are a lot more complex. So instead of just saying one word, you can say full sentences. Instead of taking one like crawl or rolling on your tummy, you can run and walk and jump, and there's more complex things happening. So growth naturally leads to complexity. You'll know this in your business. You start growing your team, the more complex it is to manage the team. You start growing your clientele, the more complex it becomes to manage your clientele. You grow anything, growth naturally leads to complexity. Unless you intentionally simplify. I remember there was a stage in my business journey where I had like 6 different offers. I had a membership model, I had a VIP day, I had a one-on-one program, I had 2 group programs, I had a retreat, I had all these different offers. And I was making great money, but it was just all of these things. So what I did was I did an offer audit. And I looked at all the numbers. I looked at the data and I asked myself, where is most of my revenue coming from? And I discovered it was coming from one program. Like 80% of my revenue was one program. And what I discovered was my effort was, and my team's effort was spread across so many different things. And so I made the decision, I'm going to sunset, I'm going to close out all the programs that aren't generating revenue except for this one. Those were generating revenue. Like one was doing some pretty consistent revenue, but it was taking it was the membership model, but it was taking so much effort. So we just canceled it. And even though they were generating revenue, we said, okay, what if we spent all of our effort on just this offer? And then what we did was we also began to simplify our clientele. So we did a client audit. And I asked myself, if we could duplicate just one kind of client that we have, who would we duplicate? And we began to kind of build out an avatar of that type of person. We document, okay, what about them would we want to duplicate? What are the demographics? Like, where do they work? How do they work, etc. And we really hone in on that one clientele. So we made a decision to go one offer, one type of client. And then we said, okay, we have webinars, masterclasses, challenges, labs, summits. We do all these things. What one thing generates the most leads? And so we did what we call our marketing audit. And for us, it was a challenge. It was a 5-day challenge called the One Client Away Challenge. Maybe for you listening to this, you were a part of that One Client Away Challenge. And so we decided we're going to only have one, what we call entry point. There's one way for you to come into the business, one type of person we're going to allow into the business, and one offer we're going to make to those clientele. As soon as we intentionally simplified, I cannot tell you, it was like this. We were experiencing some little growth here, but it was like exponential growth. My team felt so much relief. I felt so much excitement and momentum. And guess what? People got really excited about the one offer we were making because we were able to make it better and better and better and better because we were focused on one thing. If I were you, until you hit, if you're doing anywhere from 100,000 to 500,000, until you hit 7 figures in your business, follow this model. One offer, one type of client, and one entry point, and make it the best thing ever. That simplicity will help you overcome your growth complexity. The next thing is delegation. Right? You're probably struggling with delegation. Specifically delegating the marketing, especially if you're founder dependent or you started with your personal brand. You are the business is you. As you're scaling, you're trying to let go of that. Delegation is a huge issue because you want to find the right person, the right team, the right agency, and you want to make sure that you use the right language. I'll give you an example. I hired a copywriter once. And one of my values is kindness. I lead with kindness across my whole business, everything we do. Kindness matters. It's kind of a value statement. And so I delegated copywriting, and I was really nervous about it. But I believed in him. It was amazing. And then he wrote an email. He sent it out without my approval. And I got it. I was going through my email, and I was like, oh, I sent an email. And then my heart sunk because the subject line said, "You're a loser. Read this." I can't tell you how quickly I fired that copywriter. I sent an email out and I said, I am so sorry. I would never call you a loser. Now, his messaging was, "You're a loser. Read this." And then when you click it, it says, "Only if you don't book a call," which still I would never say. I would never lead with calling someone a name like that. And so that's something that's really scary for a lot of people, is delegating their brand, their reputation, their language. It was a hard lesson to learn. One, make sure you build in a transition period and you're approving content and you're training the person. But number 2, document. Never delegate a problem, delegate a process. A documented process. So I documented, here's the exact phrases I say. Here are the tones I use. Here's the language. Here's words I prefer. Here are some formulas for how we structure calls to action, right? I documented all of it. And because I had figured it out, it came so intuitive to me because it was me. I started documenting it. And then I also started saying, this is what we say. We say this. And this is what we don't say. We don't say this. This is how we ask for the sale. These are the 3 things we focus on. This is what we say when we talk about these topics. I started documenting the process. And so if you're having a hard time with delegation, figure out your process, then document it and delegate the process. Don't document the problem, or don't delegate the problem. Document the process and delegate the process. Don't delegate the problem and hope that they solve the problem for you. And then at this point, you're also looking at like just different categories of marketing. So maybe you've really leveraged organic and you're kind of ready to use a different category. Again, we would still have one entry point, but you might want to expand or create varied awareness campaigns. So here's where I would recommend, if you're really leveraging organic, go into just one more thing, right? Just one more. Don't try to do all the things. Don't try to get earned media, PR, owned media. Like, just do one more thing, right? And really hone that one. So if you're doing organic, go into paid and just focus on making paid work. Or go into owned media and launching your own channel, making that one thing work. So just one more. Don't try to do everything. Just do one more thing after you figure out how one thing works. Then you add the next. So I hope that was helpful for you. I do want to share this. There's a difference between growth and scale. So growth and scale. Growth is all about more. Scale is all about leverage and better. So growth is, I just want more leads. I want more clients. Scale is all about, how do I create leverage so I can get more without effort? Or how do I do this better so I can extract more without putting more effort? If you are in the, if you're under the 7-figure mark, so you are doing less than $1 million in annual revenue, focus on growth. Just get more. Do more sales calls, put more ads out, do more launches, just do more. But if you're over $1 million, right, this is where you're at. You're greater than the million. This is where you're at. You're less than $1 million. But if you're greater than $1 million, your focus is scale. How do I create leverage? Because I don't want to do more. I don't want to put more into hustle, or into, whatever. So find something that works and then do it again and again and again and again and again and again and again. And this is the difference between systems and strategy. So scale, you're looking at building systems. With growth, you're looking to find the strategy. It's strategy and repetition. Find the strategy that works, and you might go through 5 or 6 different strategies. That's fine. You're in the right place. Keep going. But once you find the thing that works, that aligns, that you're like, okay, this is juicy, get those reps in. Do it again and again and again and again and again. Why? Because when you do build the system, you do want to build it off of what you know actually works. If you're in growth, you just want more, which means find a strategy and get those reps in. If you're over $1 million, then your goal is scale, which is creating leverage, which is doing the thing that you already do, but doing it better through systems. And that can be automation, delegation, or AI, etc. But we talked about quite a bit. I want you to choose just one thing. What is the one thing I'm going to take away from this today? I'm going to do right now, today, from this. I'll give you a minute. Put your hand on your heart. Take a deep breath in. And a deep breath out. One more time, deep breath in. And a deep breath out. As a reminder, there are several ways we can support your coaching business. One is through a 2-day lab. We do these every few months. You can click the link in the description to join us there. We also have our Scale to Exit Accelerator. This is a group coaching program. We do sprint style work where we're going really fast. That's why it's called an accelerator, to get your systems up and move you out of hustle and into leverage. There's a 17-week program, and click the link in the description for that. And I'm sure you've heard something in here that you're like, I want more information. I want more details. We release these types of content either through our podcast, the Scale Point podcast, or through our social platforms. You can check all of that out. Take a deep breath in. Take a deep breath out. Commit to showing up. Commit to growing. Commit to scaling. And choose just one thing you're going to implement. If you're looking to build systems, we're here to help. My name is Sean Q, co-founder and CEO of Abundance Worldwide. And I'll see you in the next video.